Welcome back. You're listening to the discussion Data as a Tool in Digital Transformation and Cybersecurity, sponsored by Splunk on Federal News Network. I'm your host, Jason Miller. My guests today are Ram Iyer, the Chief Data Officer at the Food and Drug Administration in the Department of Health and Human Services, Hannah Hunt, the Chief Product and Innovation Officer for the Army Futures Command's Software Factory, Venus Goodwine, the Chief Information Security Officer at the Department of Agriculture, and Juliana Vida, the Chief Technical Advisor for Public Sector at Splunk. I want to go back to something that Venus said in the last segment about cybersecurity, role-based access, understanding if you need read and write privileges. This also comes back down to, and again, I give you credit, Venus, for not saying those buzzwords of zero trust, but really a lot of what has happened with digital transformation, what has happened with the pandemic has really pushed agencies toward this security idea, this automation, this understanding of roles and responsibilities. How's USDA going in that direction as well?
Yes, and so Jason, I wanted to take an opportunity. The other success story I wanted to highlight was that because a lot of our users are at home in this telework enhanced environment, and so is their endpoint. And so still being able to capture that endpoint data and application data and have it actually flow through our SIEM, in which we use Splunk for that, has been critical for us, because that is where, as a CISO, I'm able to understand any of the vulnerabilities or potential vulnerabilities or challenges to the data. And so that has been a success because we had that structure set up in place. And when the pandemic happened, we were pleased to know that we still received all of that data. And so all the analytics, rather it's an indicator of compromise, or if it's understanding the activity that was happening with a particular application, we can do that using our Splunk SIEM. So from a security operations center perspective, that was a good news story. That was still a huge success because that showed our resiliency and the resiliency of the platform as well, that we still were able to capture that data, use that data, and again, make security informed decisions as well. And so I wanted to share that success story here today, along with the use of data, because that is very important data to me as a CISO.
And as the threat surface increased because more people work from home, and USDA has been one of those agencies over the years that had a pretty strong telework program, that also played a huge role. So you felt more comfortable with the amount of people and what they were doing from home as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, because let's be honest, right? We're at home, but our kids are at home and our spouses are at home too, so our users could be distracted. So knowing that I have that data automatically fed and I could make decisions without requiring the user to provide that data to me, that is what made this a success for us.
Hannah, let me switch over to you for a second, because I think the Army as well is really kind of using data to make better decisions. You're moving out with the platforms and driving, as Venus said, the security side of it, but you also have to drive the mission side of it. Walk me through a little about where you're heading with the data and how that's driving better success.
Yeah, thank you. So, there's a couple of different options when it comes to providing data analysis and optimization and observability. For us in the Army, a lot of that is converging around something called Project Convergence. It's basically this kind of streamlined training activity that brings all these different systems and sensors together to better inform decision making. Within the software factory and the Enterprise Cloud Management Office, we're looking at a very robust type of data process using data lakes and data warehousing to ensure that we can easily observe our data and optimize it for all the buzzwords of machine learning and AI. We really just need the data in a place that is actually scrubbed in a way that provides that observability and optimization. And I think we're still getting there. There's also this notion of event streaming, a way of integrating multiple applications and software products to better inform that decision-making, but through events and activities. That's something we're pushing really, really hard for in the software factory by building a portfolio approach of products that do impact soldiers, everything from logistics and maintenance to command and control and weapon system work to, the minor things like making it easier to pick parts and deliver those. So event streaming, I think, is really a new way for us to be able to provide decision making, and the notion of that kill chain, bringing that together and closer so that we can make better informed decisions.
And when you talk about this idea of event streaming, it's the different events in a soldier's or a unit's lifetime or day or week or whatever, and then using the data to connect those dots to say this and this could mean that we better look into it. Is that I'm simplifying it, I know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can do this with predictive maintenance, and ensuring that if we know that a tank or a truck is going to be, going to need some form of repair, we can use the data and the results from a lot of these software applications that we're developing to better inform that decision making. And say, okay, well, we know that this tank is going to need X, piece of equipment in the next 3 weeks. We better order that. And it just like streamlines efficiencies over and over again. And it makes it easier on every piece of the supply chain and the soldiers' lives that really just need more data to be able to streamline their lives, increase welfare and morale, all the things that are so important. We're still in a very manual world within the Army, and having these opportunities like event streaming or big data platforms really do enable that like modernization effort.
Juliana, what we heard from Hannah, what we heard from Ram, what we heard from Venus today, it all comes back to something I think you said at the very beginning of our conversation, is people understanding the value of data more than ever. What are you, when you talk to your clients and you're having these very similar conversations, are you seeing this, or do we just pick the three people that are ahead of the bunch?
No, you had three that are definitely ahead and are sharing those ideas, but I do see that, thankfully, more and more across the federal space. And that's what's so exciting. I mean, it really is, because what I'm proud of being part of a technology vendor, Splunk, to deliver, but what we're really all after is not just modernization for modernization's sake, because that's what we should do, but I like to talk about it in terms of providing a sublime citizen experience. We should be getting the same level of service with the same quality and fun, even in how we engage with our services and our services and experience provided from the federal government, that we get from every other vendor, every other company that we engage with in our personal lives. So all the cool functionality through apps on our smartphone, or however we engage with vendors that sell products that we buy, or places that we go to eat, or whatever. All of that should be the same level of service that the government is providing. And agencies that are leveraging data and technology to deliver those services are finding that they can provide a sublime citizen experience. Not just, it's good enough and it's better than it was 10 years ago, but it's what soldiers and citizens and sailors and Marines and everybody across the DoD and every one of us as citizens across the federal government, what we deserve as taxpayers, as Americans. And I am seeing it. It's very cool to see the acceleration of adoption of technology and making it real to everyone, so that we can stop having this mystical discussion around data and ML and all these terms that most Americans don't understand and don't need to understand. But how does it help them? How does it help my life get better as a citizen? And it's really cool to see. And I have to say that this is what the power of cloud is all about, because delivering that kind of sublime experience requires scale, agility, constant modernization, constant, continuous monitoring from a security perspective. And none of that is possible in a legacy plugs, wires, configuration set up in a data center. It's just not possible. So to see people look at that as like what the value of moving to a hybrid cloud environment is all about, that's exciting. And I get to see that every day. It's fun.
Ron, we have just about a minute left or less. Can you just kind of give me a quick update on the data modernization action plan? When can we get to see it, and what's going to be in it? Give me about the 50,000-foot view.
There are three major aspects to that. We will look at the right driver projects required to improve our value or get value from our data. Looking at data practices from an end-to-end perspective, including making it AI ready. And then the third part is talent. So those are the key components we'll be looking at. And we've not decided on the release. It's going through some reviews. We've not received a final end date on the reviews, but it should be in the matter of weeks. We should be sending it out. And then I want to quickly finish the thought on the AI and ML. I want to make sure that AI and ML is going to both help the stakeholders and the industries and the public health by incorporating that in the products that we review. But it also is going to help us internally to scale our capabilities across the board for FDA, because we can't just scale with more people. We need to scale with technology and automation and data and we'll be using that in that space as well.
All right, plenty to look out for. This has been just a tremendous conversation, but unfortunately we are out of time for today. So let me thank my guests. Ram Iyer is the Chief Data Officer at the Food and Drug Administration in the Department of Health and Human Services. Hannah Hunt is the Chief Product and Innovation Officer for the Army Futures Command's Software Factory. Venus Goodwine is the Chief Information Security Officer at the Department of Agriculture. And Juliana Vida is the Chief Technical Advisor for Public Sector at Splunk. Thank you all so much for taking the time today. I'm Jason Miller, and you've been listening to the discussion, Data as a Tool in Digital Transformation and Cybersecurity, sponsored by Splunk on Federal News Network. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search Splunk.